Shalom, shalom, and welcome to the White Rose Family Channel. My name is Symmanayah if you're tuning in for the first time. And these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation. To you, if you seek to do the will of the Almighty Creator Yahuah, through Yahusha, His Word, I consider you my brother, my sister, my family. In this message, it's entitled Water Assignments. My brothers and sisters, before you really begin to listen as I unpack this, I want to say this. Visit the 4th chapter of John, and you will see where Yahusha is quoted as saying that he will give everlasting water. And if we study the scriptures, we'll see that water is synonymous or akin to the word of Yahuah. The word of Yahuah is Yahusha. If you look at John, 1st chapter. So Yahusha is being quoted as saying, I'll give you everlasting water. Everlasting words. Many of us don't understand that everlasting words require us to be sensitive to the spirit of Yahuah that comes in Yahusha's name, that directs us, guide us, and teach us. Look at John 14:26. With that said, my brothers and sisters, water can be akin to the word of Yahuah. So let's unpack this message regarding water assignments. Take a moment, my brothers and sisters, and ask the question, what does water mean to you? Prepare to examine examples of the importance of water. Water is something we take for granted, my brothers and sisters. We will realize that there are a lot of examples that the Almighty Father has put before us. And in those examples, we can learn and grow in wisdom and strength and set-apartness. Water comes and goes. Who's delivering or receiving water? Literal water or spiritual water? Discerning and consumption of water come with responsibility. Do you think we find favor in Yahuah as it relates to water, His word, without receiving some type of responsibility? Do you think we are allowed to live another day, another second, without some responsibility? Believe it or not, my brothers and sisters, water has its origins or beginnings. With these words said, please note the Almighty Yahuah is the Aleph and the Ta, meaning the beginning and the end. Water comes and goes, literally and by His word. Do you know that there's water in the atmosphere? Moisture in the atmosphere. It's measured by science as humidity. But I say to you, my brothers and sisters, there's water all over. But it comes as a favor from the Almighty Father. So what do we do with this favor, my brothers and sisters? The Almighty Father is the Aleph and the Ta. He guides us and directs our footsteps. And when we begin to be more mindful of how He literally communicates with us in spirit and in truth, and we begin to yield and recognize His presence in us, it will make the world of difference in the challenges we're facing, especially the challenges unfolding. I strongly encourage each of us to know who it is that directs water. Water assignments come from the Almighty Yahuah. Why do I say water assignment? He gives some more than others. For what purpose? That is the thing that we must learn. What is the purpose? What does He want me to do today, this day? Come with me as I take you to the Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. For it is written in the Esau scripture version, it is written, in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. I prefer to say the Almighty One, but it is written in this translation as Elohim. And the earth came to be formless, empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And the spirit of Elohim was moving on the face of the waters. In the beginning, water, my brothers and sisters, water. Water is a priority, literally and spiritually. And the Almighty Father, in the beginning of his creation, mentions water. You say, well, I know that. It goes on to say, and Elohim said, let an expanse come to be in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. And Elohim made the expanse and separated the waters which were under the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse. And it came to be so. See, many people look at earth and they don't understand when they say waters above the expanse, that is water droplets in our atmosphere. You see, education, how we're taught, how we're educated, can make a difference. So many people are rationalizing and using their own competence to understand what the text mean, instead of looking at the letter and praying to discern the life in the text. They have assumed specific points of belief, positions of belief. Water above the expanse is water droplets. It's the moisture in our atmosphere. In Abba Yahuwah's creation, he gave us a physical example of his word, water. Come take a look at Proverbs chapter 20, verse 5. It is written, counsel in the heart of man is like deep water. Deep water in the heart of man. In this case here, it's talking about the inward man, the spirit, because it is our spirit joined with Abba Yahuwah. It is through his word, Yahusha, that what we have inside, that word from Yahuwah that comes in Yahusha's name, is deep for some. But a man of understanding draws it up. Recognize. Take a look at John 4:13 and 14 that I talked about, my brothers and sisters. John 14:13 and 14 says, Yahusha answered and said to her, everyone drinking of this water shall thirst again. But whoever drinks of the water I give him shall certainly never thirst. And the water that I give him shall become to him a fountain of water springing up into everlasting life. You see, we don't ask, what does that look like? What does that resemble? Water springing up unto everlasting life. That means there's endless words, endless instructions and directions from the word of Yahuwah that comes to us in Yahusha's name. When we begin to realize that, we'll understand more clearly what it means about precept upon precept. Many people think precept upon precept is just saying this scripture matches another scripture. That is true, but it goes beyond that. When we hear someone talking or teaching, or when we communicate with one another, let us pray and ask the question, is there a connection to set apart instructions and guidance? If we can discern that connection, that's what precept upon precept means. Connecting, because the word of Yahuwah will never contradict themselves. Although if you're using your own competence to read the letter, it can appear based on the different translations we face. There are many people that want you to think that the scriptures or the Bible, that's the word of Yah. No, that's the scriptures. And even when you read Yahusha's interactions, he said, it is written. He never pointed to the scriptures and say, that's the word, because he was the word. And secondly, before you hang up, click off, turn away, remember, you're not going to have the Almighty Father contradict himself, saying Jesus in one translation, but Yahusha in another. That's man. There are many teachers and mores want to shun me because I say the scripture's been tampered with. They have. If we truly seek set apartness, we must understand the truth. The original scriptures were the inspired words to be written. They were inspired by Yahuwah. But what we have before us now are many translations. Thus, as we try to use our own competence and academic skills to read and teach, thus it will fuel contradictions and disputes. If we are absent of discerning what the Spirit of Yahuwah is saying to make his word clear, make the letter clear, the text. That's why we see many examples of it is written. Otherwise, we have what we have now. People confused, saying, well, that's not what I read. That's not my opinion. Water assignments. You see, the Almighty Father assigns us duties when it comes to handling his word, demonstrating his word, his way of life. We will grow to stop taking water for granted. Everything that we receive from the Almighty Father is like everlasting water. As the word of Yahuwah sent in Yahusha's name will demand improved attention as end times get intense. There are water assignments. There are things that we are to do, demonstrate as a result of living instructions from the word of the Almighty Father. Let us stop taking it for granted, my brothers and sisters. Many stumble because they don't look at Yahusha as the word of Yahuwah. They just say he's a son of Yahuwah and set him to the side. And they rather just say Yah this, and Yah that. Not realizing that Yahusha means Yah salvation or Yahuwah saves. But the name Yahusha represents the word of Yahuwah. And so if you're ignoring the word of Yahuwah and to call yourself bypassing him, that's why you struggle. And you justify it by saying, well, I said Yah, or I said the Most High. We will see as clarity come, my brothers and sisters, that we must recognize Yahusha means the word of Yahuwah that comes to us with assignments, with responsibility. Come with me to the first chapter of John, verse 1 through 3. And I mentioned this earlier. It says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with the Almighty One, and the Word was the Almighty One. He was in the beginning with the Almighty One, and all came to be through him. Without him, not even one came to be that came to be. Yahusha is that word. Rise up, Yashar'al. In these end times, great corrections are coming to break age-old traditional habits that are erroneous. See, there are people that have spare time to read the text and letter, and so they want to teach. But we must always examine the words that they present before us and ask ourselves, are those words as water from the Almighty Father or not? Let it be known, there's a difference between what is written versus the living word of Yahusha. There is a difference, my brothers and sisters. And in these end times, we will grow to recognize that. Due to the way we are educated and programmed, there seems to be struggles between understanding the text and letter, written words, and the living words of the Almighty Father Yahuwah. I cannot emphasize that enough, the importance of knowing the difference. If one was to search the scriptures, one would see examples of words like it is written. The scriptures were defined as inspired written words, text, letters. But if you study the scriptures, you'll see it says we must lean on the Spirit of Yahuwah. We must seek to discern his living word. It is highly possible. And many people don't realize we cannot order the word of Yahusha to make it clear to us. We can seek to obey, seek to discern, seek to worship, pray, and watch him present. You see, there are many among us who have ill intentions, and because of ill intentions or lacking in belief, they are made blind because of their ill intent. But there are those among us who sincerely desire the word from Yahuwah, to discern it, to walk in obedience, to know how to continuously walk in the power of obeying his 10 commandments, his laws, his statutes, his living guidance, his living Torah, meaning living instruction. My brothers and sisters, the living word of Yahuwah is Yahusha. Beware. Out of the numerous translations of the scriptures, much confusion has been spawned. The word of Yahuwah comes to us in Yahusha's name, as Yahusha. It is the Spirit of Yahuwah that manifests this word. Therefore, it is the Spirit of Yahusha that makes the text, the letter, alive. Alive. This will help clear up the confusion, the disjointedness among us, my brothers and sisters. Examine 2 Corinthians 3, 4, and 5. Come with me there. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 4 and 5. It says, "In such trust we have towards the Almighty One through the Messiah. Not that we are competent in ourselves to reckon any matter as from ourselves, but our competence is from the Almighty One." You see, man has made it think like if we're stronger and more solid book knowledge, academically, that makes us more knowledgeable than the other. But let us not embrace that. He that is knowledgeable and discerning the voice and the spirit of Yahuwah that comes in Yahusha's name, that's a difference than just book knowledge. Let us know what it means by the Spirit making things alive. Let us know what it means by our own competence versus leaning on Yahusha Messiah. It goes on to say in the 6th verse, 3rd chapter, 2 Corinthians, "Who also made us competent as servants of a renewed covenant, not of the letter, but of the Spirit," my brothers and sisters. There's a big difference. For the letter kills and the Spirit gives life. Let me also bring your attention, my brothers and sisters, to John 14:6. John 14:6. Yahusha said to him, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. These words I have spoken to you while still with you." He is being quoted, and he's talking about the literal. And it goes beyond the literal to spiritual if we can only receive the water assignment and know what are we to do with that. It says, "But the helper, the set apart spirit whom the Father shall send in my name," it's Yahushua being quoted, "he shall teach you all and remind you of all that I have said to you." He makes the scriptures alive. He makes the text, the letter, alive. And believe it or not, when we talk to one another, it is the Spirit of Yahushua that hardens and softens hearts, where we're able to understand one another and receive the water assignment that has been given to others to give to us. Or receive the water assignment, words for us to give to others. While walking among men, they literally heard the word of Yahusha. Upon his resurrection, the set-apart Spirit of Yahuwah was sent to us in Yahusha's name. I cannot drive that home enough, my brothers and sisters. And the sooner we begin to recognize that, the sooner we can seek to discern the living presence of Yahuwah, communicating through his word, Yahusha, lifting him up. If you look at John 12:32, he talks about if he be lifted up, he will draw all men to himself. You see, so when we lift up the word of Yahuwah as Yahusha, it is he that draws us together, and we will come to understand that. We will come to know what that means, my brothers and sisters. Trust and believe. It is very critical for us to receive the spirit of Yahusha. Abba Yahuwah's word brings understanding and life to what is written. He that ignores that will stumble and struggle along the way. We have grown accustomed to saying the text is the word of Yahuwah. This is widely due to how we were educated. Misinformation was passed on from generation to generation without examination of what is actually written. You see, written texts come with words, but these are not the word of Yahuwah. There is a difference. See, the way we are taught, we read and we say that word, this word, these words, that's the word. But let's go beyond the way we were taught academically, and let's look spiritually, that the living word of Yahuwah is Yahusha. Besides that, is no other set apart instruction other than the text being made alive. Do you know, even when we read just literally any book, we can use our competence and say, I understand that, but then we will have difference of opinion of what we read. You see, the way we are taught and educated, there are many levels to respond to as it relates to understanding. And sometimes the differences of opinion cause conflict and confusion and unruly disputes. But when the spirit of Yahusha comes upon us, he brings the clarity. He takes the words and brings us to the seed of the matter to see whether it is righteous or not. With that comes wisdom. My brothers and sisters, consider Matthew 12:25. Matthew 12:25 saying, Yahusha knew their thoughts and said to them, every reign divided against itself is laid waste, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. We, O Yashar'al, should not be divided against one another. And when we learn to discern the voice of Yahuwah that comes to us by his word, Yahusha, we see the seed of the matter. We see the origin of the water. We begin to recognize the assignment we have, when to speak, when to be quiet, when to listen. Yahusha knew their thoughts. That's the spirit, the power of set-apartness. That's the power of our set-apart Savior. If we look at many translations of scriptures, one can discover conflicts and divisions, some scriptures leaving out one passage or another, books even, using different names. So do we honestly believe that the word of Yahuwah sent in Yahusha's name would be divided against himself? No, my brothers and sisters. Rise up and awake. Let us be more precise when it comes to that everlasting water, that water assignment, to strengthen, to magnify, set apart instructions and directions. Case in point, do you believe he wants to be identified as Yahusha and Jesus? No, my brothers and sisters, not at all. Rise up, my brothers and sisters. Wake up. Let us strengthen one another. When we begin to look at the many corrections unfolding, we will be able to identify water assignments. We will better hear and understand what Yahusha is saying to us. We will begin to see how the life of Yahusha teaches, reminds us, and guides us. Come, let us consider the following, my brothers and sisters, as I continue. Psalm 1:1 and 1:2 says this, Blessed is the man who shall not walk in the counsel of the wrong, and shall not stand in the path of sinners, but shall not sit in the seat of scoffers. See, all these are the fruits of one functioning under their own competence. It say, but his delight, Yahuwah's delight, is in the Torah of Yahuwah, and he meditates in his Torah day and night. Meditate, being attentive to the living word of Yahuwah. This is what is important, my brothers and sisters. Psalms 1:3 says, "For he shall be as a tree planted by the rivers of water." Are we as trees planted by the rivers of water? Have we ever given thought that the rivers of water could be what we say to one another? When we share set-apart instructions, guidance, encouragement with one another? Could we be acting as rivers of water? Could we be contributors of that everlasting water that Yahusha spoke of in the 4th chapter of John? It said that yields its fruit in its season, whose leaf does not wither, and whatever he does prosper. Are we contributing towards the prosperity of one another in set-apartness? Something to pray about, something to strongly consider, my brothers and sisters. You see, it is important to recognize what can be done with water. Come, take a look at Proverbs 14:27. It says, "The fear of Yahuwah is a fountain of life, is a fountain of life, to turn away from the snares of death." Do you know the snares of death can be our own competence? Are we not aware that the flesh war against the spirit? Our brain, our cognition, our mental faculties, or the way we've been psychologically programmed can be the snares of death. This is why we should pray without ceasing. This is why we should always pray and seek to discern the living voice, the living word, the living water from Yahuwah. And what assignments is he given to us? Isaiah 12:2-3. Let's take a look, my brothers and sisters. It says, "See, all is my deliverance. I trust and am not afraid, for Yahuwah is my strength and my song, and he has become my deliverance. And you shall draw water with joy from the fountains of deliverance." Hear these words and recognize them, my brothers and sisters. Review Amos. Come take a look. Amos 8th chapter, 11th verse says this: "See, days are coming, declares the Master Yahuwah, that I shall send a hunger in the land, not a hunger for bread, nor a thirst for water, but for the hearing the words of Yahuwah." So he's letting us know beyond literal water, it's going to be a hunger and a thirst for his words, his living words, my brothers and sisters. Stay with me, for it goes on to read in the 12th verse, I'm in the 8th chapter of Amos. "And they shall wander from sea to sea and from north to east. They shall diligently search, seeking the word of Yahuwah, but they shall not find it." It's letting you know the word. This is talking about the living word of Yahuwah. And upon resurrection, which we are in that era, that living word is the spirit of Yahusha. The spirit of Yahuwah's word comes in Yahusha's name. It makes a difference to how we understand what we read and how we better interact with one another. Let me also present Ephesians 5:25-26. Now, the literal of this 5th chapter is talking about a relationship between a husband and a wife. But many people skipped at the beginning of this chapter. It also talks about Yahusha's relationship with the assembly. So make no mistake, before there was a literal husband and wife, the plan of Yahuwah was laid out, where Yahusha's relationship with the assembly is set out as an example for us to know how we are to treat our wives and even wives' husbands. So it is written in Ephesians 5:25-26, "Husbands, love your wives, as Messiah also did love the assembly and gave himself for it, in order to set it apart and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, It's letting us know the symbolism of water in his word. It goes on to say in the 27th verse, in order to present to himself a splendid assembly, not having spot or wrinkle or any of this sort, but that it might be set apart and blameless. My brothers and sisters, it is important for us to understand that there are many symbolisms in the scriptures. And as we study the text, the letter, and seek to discern what the word Yahusha has to say in making these scriptures alive, we will better understand our assignment, our water assignments, what we're supposed to do with that water, that wisdom, that strength, those instructions, those teachings. Take a look at Revelations 21st chapter, my brothers and sisters. Verse 6. Revelation 21:6 says, and he said to me, it is done. I am the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the end. To the one who thirsts, I shall give of the fountain of water of life without payment. Understand the importance, my brothers and sisters. There is much work to be done during these end times. It will get intense. I can't stress that enough. The living word of Yahuwah, which comes in Yahusha's name, will prove that there are water assignments, duties, responsibilities that we will be held accountable for. Our literal communications will be inspired by the living spirit of Yahuwah through his word that comes in Yahusha's name. This is why it talks about praying. This is why it is written to pray without ceasing, my brothers and sisters. To know that we are vessels of the spirit of Yahuwah, that he will work in us, through us, one towards another. Many of us will come to understand how Yahusha is the living word of Yahuwah. Knowing this is important to discerning how we will be brought into unity. For he will guide us, and it is highly possible for us to recognize his living spirit and obey. John 12:32 and 33, as I spoke of earlier, it says, and if I am lifted up from the earth, shall draw all men unto myself. These he said, signifying by what death he was about to die. And I tell you, my brothers and sisters, when we understand precept upon precept, connecting instructions and directions, we'll know it's beyond stopping at his sacrifice and resurrection. If we lift him up, if we never forget the sacrifice, if we never forget how we are to engage the Almighty Yahuwah, it is through his word Yahusha. And by lifting him up, we will witness coming together, moving beyond the conflicts and confusion, coming together in unity. Yashar'al, my brother, my sister, my family, many look at the text and let alone in the passage I just read, but it's important to know that the life in the passage goes beyond the literal. There's everlasting life in those words. We will discover the importance of lifting up the word of Yahusha, in order to fulfill what is written. There will be a final exodus. There will be some of us that will die as martyrs. There will be some of us that will die because of unbelief and lack of education, set-apart education, and we may die a painful death. But to those who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father, trust and obey, he has promised discipline. That discipline may happen during our physical walk on this earth, or it may be a discipline unto death. See, there are set-apart ones that will die, and they were stumbling and struggling, and so their discipline was to take them into rest. Let us understand the realities of the set-apart walk. Prepare to witness the process of how we will know what to do to fulfill what is written, where we are supposed to go, who we're supposed to be with, when. You see, movement is coming, my brothers and sisters. It has begun for some. Out of the many tasks that will rise, we will learn how the word of Yahuwah works in us, how to work together. Water scientists will prove that living words from Abba Yahuah comes from his word Yahusha, for he knows how to make things whole, clear, and correct, and he will. Make no mistake. Keep in mind Romans 8:14. Come with me there as I gradually come to an end, my brother, my sister. Romans 8:14 says this, for as many as are led by the Spirit of Elohim, the Almighty One, these are the sons of Elohim, the Almighty One. It is about being led by the Spirit. It is highly possible. We just can't make the Spirit of Yahuah do what we want. So when we're blinded or don't understand, ask ourselves, what is impeding? What is blocking my understanding of what is true? Are my intentions pure? Do I really desire to worship and obey? Or am I trying to just bolster my ego to look good? There's a difference, my brothers and sisters. Come with me. Let us also be mindful of Hebrews chapter 8, verse 10. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 10. Come with me there. It says, because this is the covenant that I shall make with the house of Yashar'al. After those days, says Yahuah, giving my laws in their mind, I shall write them on their hearts, and I shall be their Almighty One, and they shall be my people. This heart is talking about that inward man that is joined with Yahuah by his word, Yahusha, by his plan. It goes on to say in the 9th and 10th verse, but you are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, if indeed the Spirit of the Almighty One dwells in you, and if anyone does not have the Spirit of Messiah, this one is not his. And if Messiah is in you, the body is truly dead on account of sin, but the Spirit is life on account of righteousness. Let us not be quick to say a person doesn't have the Spirit, for the Almighty Father might be working a work, and that person may be going through the discipline to bring correction. There's a difference. Sometimes we see people and they show no intent to worship and obey. That's a difference than someone that's trying to obey, desire to obey, but just unlearned, hasn't grown yet, hasn't come into the realization of his living presence. There's a difference. Romans 8:11 says, and if the Spirit of him who raised Yahusha from the dead dwells in you, he who raised Messiah from the dead shall also give life to your mortal bodies through the Spirit dwelling in you. Receive the water assignment, knowing that the word dwelling in you comes with a water assignment. 1 Corinthians 3:16 say, do you not know that you are a dwelling place of the Almighty One, and that the Spirit of the Almighty One dwells in you? We must recognize that. We must realize the responsibilities and be accountable for how we manage this treasure in earthen vessels, our bodies. My brother, my sister, take a look at Colossians 3:16. Colossians 3:16 say, let the word of Messiah, the word, this is talking about the living words, the living understanding of Messiah dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing with pleasure in your hearts to the Master in psalms and songs and praise and spiritual songs. The living word, that's the word of Yahuah. And when we lean on him, when we seek his living spirit to work in us as he dwells in us, he will bring to life the letter, the text, the scriptures, the Bible verses that we read. There is a difference, my brothers and sisters. And we will see that difference get better as corrections enlarge to bring Yashar'al into unity. My brother, my sister, rise up. Where the living word is, we will discover water assignments, responsibility. We will be held accountable. We will discover how to better communicate with one another. We just may appreciate the definition of water. We just may stop taking the word water for granted. We just may appreciate the definition of water beyond science saying H2O. That's the literal, but let's get beyond the literal. My brother, my sister, my family, water assignments. As end times ramp up, as things get intense, there will be assignments given. There are assignments given now. There are instructions given to us now to magnify the Almighty Father Yahuah through his word Yahusha. And by doing so, we lift him up. We lift up the word of Yahuah. No Trinity. The word of Yahuah is Yahusha. And we will discover it will make a difference. Each of us have a responsibility. Each of us have a water assignment. If you listen to this from beginning to end, pray and see, does this connect with living instructions? Are you motivated? Is your spirit stirred? My prayer is that we grow to discern the living voice of the Almighty Father Yahuah coming to us in the name of Yahusha, by his word, by Yahuwah's word, Yahusha. I pray that you are in good health, and I ask that if you are moved, consider subscribing, like, share. This helps to get the messages out to others who need to hear it, my brothers and sisters. Do not be a hoarder. The things we receive from one another as water or as the word from Yahuwah comes with its responsibility. And I ask for your help. Help me, O Yashar'al. Consider contributing. My cash tag is White Rose Family. Plant a seed and see what it brings. For there is a vision and a plan. And I believe that the Almighty Father has given me things in part that connects with other parts and other plans that people are receiving. And we will come together like pieces of a puzzle and be made whole. On that note, thanks for your patience, your tolerance, your pursuit of set apartness. Much love to you, my brother, my sister, my family. Thank you. Shalom.